Coming up on Network Africa. Sudan's government and rebels resume peace talks in Juba. Vote counting is underway in Mozambique after Tuesday's elections. And the United Nations celebrate World Food Day. Hello and a warm welcome to the program. I'm Teniola Shoboali. We begin today in Juba, South Sudan, where Sudan's ruling council and rebel leaders have resumed peace talks to end the country's multiple conflicts. This is a key condition for the country's removal from the United States sponsors of terrorism list. The council, a transitional government, has made peacemaking with rebels fight in Khartoum one of its main priorities. Being designated a state sponsor of terrorism cut Sudan off from desperately needed debt relief and financing from lenders such as the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. The council took over the government in August when military and civilian parties and protest groups signed a 3-year power-sharing deal after months of protest following the removal of President Omar al-Bashir in April. South Sudan brought together members of the council and rebel leaders from several areas for the latest talks.
We need to learn how to resolve our differences and conflicts through peaceful means rather than using force. Using force will lead us nowhere except for the killing of our own people and the destruction of our countries.
Anchoring the peace process in principle of inclusivity and a vested interest in the well-being of the people of Sudan is key. It is my hope that our convening will pave the way for an agreement to emerge between the transitional government and the other parties to the talks.
Let's get more on this from the VOA's Naba Mahidin in Khartoum. Naba, thanks for joining us. Since the talks began on Monday, what major strides can you say stakeholders have made?
The main issues was discussed is the time, the importance of the time to commit with the timetable that was put to reach an agreement and to reach a point which will last for 2 months. As I said, the talks will last for 2 months, and also to urgently stop the hostilities and open the humanitarian access and to avoid the mistakes of the past and to open a new page for Sudan to develop, and also to stop the objection that was made by some of the armed movements that objected the political agreement signed between the military and leaders and the protest leaders. So it was efforts for rapprochement, to make a general rapprochement between the armed forces and the newly formed cabinet. They also assured that there is no longer reason for the armed movements to make a negative attitude as long as this is a new Sudan and the former regime has already left, and everyone can open a new door for Sudan in order to make the stability and the development.
Yeah, this is definitely a major summit for the country. Well, what exact issues have been raised at this summit?
Since the talks started on Monday, the stakeholders firstly assured the importance of the time for the two sides to fastly build a peace process and to overcome the mistakes of the past in order to put Sudan in the right path for building political stability, and also to open the doors for the international cooperation to reconcile Sudan economically also, as long as building peace process in Sudan is one of the conditions for U.S. to lift sanctions from the for Sudan from the terrorism list, and also the make a decision of opening the humanitarian access for the aid to be delivered for the refugees and displaced people, and also they agreed on stopping the hostilities, the current hostilities, till the talks have results which will last for 2 months, from October 14th to December 14th, and it's one of the major acts in the constitutional draft that was signed between the political parties, the protest leaders, and the military council. It's to stop the hostilities and stop the war and to build peace process in the country.
And how are the people reacting to the efforts by the government to make peace?
Are so optimistic about the efforts made by the new cabinet and armed forces, and also African mediations efforts in Sudan to end the crisis in Sudan, which is started since the negotiations between the military council and the protest leaders. People think these talks will result in very good results and will end the long-time conflicts, and because the mediation efforts are so big and also made Sudan to reach an agreement in August, so they put great hopes in these talks and these efforts.
Well, Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is one of the mediators in these talks. He's the man of peace by standards of the Nobel Peace Prize awarded to him just last Friday. Well, what has he contributed so far to this meeting?
Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is one of the major mediators, and we can say a corner in reaching any agreement in Sudan recently. For example, ending the crisis between the military council and protest leaders after a month of turmoil and a deadlock. So his efforts were so appreciated, and he has a very good impact and effect in the two sides because he's very well respected, and his efforts were so huge, and he didn't give up. For the peace talk, also people are so optimistic that his efforts will make a difference, along with the IGAD, and he is representing the IGAD in these talks, and people are putting great hopes in the African mediation and the Ethiopian mediation also in the peace talks, to make a rapprochement between the armed forces and the current government. So Abiy Ahmed, people are putting great hopes on him, and also with the other African leaders, to end the crisis and to put Sudan in his right path.
And Abba, just before I let you go, at the end of the meeting, how are the stakeholders planning to implement resolutions they make?
Stakeholders planning to implement the solutions by make it binding for the two sides with the written agreement that will be added to the constitutional draft signed between the military council and the protest leaders. So it will be added to the constitutional draft, it will be validated, and it will be binding for the two sides. And also IGAD will make it reach to the international community and to the Security Council specifically to monitor it and monitor the implementation of it. So yes, African mediation and IGAD and European Union, they will make it in the hands of the IGAD to make it reach to the international community. And also they suggested to make a follow-up committee, an urgent follow-up committee to follow up the updates of the talks and when they reach an agreement, and to follow up the implementation of the whole process.
All right, then the VOA's Naba Mahidin speaking to us there from Khartoum. Now, all eyes are on Mozambique's fragile peace, looking to see if it will survive the recently conducted election as counting is underway. Mozambicans voted on Tuesday in an election that is expected to test the peace deal between the ruling Frelimo and former rebel group Renamo. Mozambique's law allows 15 days for the results to be announced, though they may come sooner.
After casting his vote in Mozambique's election on Tuesday, President Filipe Nyusi said his country had decided to follow peace. But that peace, in a country that's set to become one of the world's main gas exporters, could be in jeopardy, depending on the outcome of the poll. 2 months ago, Nyusi's Frelimo party agreed a peace deal with its old civil war foe turned opposition rival, Renamo.
One of the things that Mozambique has decided to follow is peace. Peace, meaning no violence, and this will start to be part of the culture of Mozambique forever. Let's show the world and the region that we are for democracy and tolerance.
The presidential, legislative and provincial election is widely expected to extend Frelimo's decades-long rule. Meanwhile, Renamo is hoping that electoral changes agreed upon under the Peace Pact will mean it wins back control of its traditional heartlands in central and northern provinces. For most of Mozambique's 13 million registered voters, Frelimo has been in power since they were born, and for some, that's a good thing.
We grew up with Frelimo, and it's the only one we've known. There is no other alternative. We're used to our Frelimo. They must develop more. There is nothing else.
Frelimo must change, do something better, so I'd vote for the change. Frelimo have ruled, and in my opinion, they are not listening to the wishes of the people.
A corruption scandal over government borrowing has hit the economy and damaged Nyusi's popularity. Mozambique's laws allows 15 days for the results to be announced, although they may come sooner.
To other stories now, today is World Food Day. It's a day of action dedicated to tackling global hunger, held annually on the 16th of October. People from around the world come together to declare their commitment to eradicating worldwide hunger from our lifetime. Celebrating the creation of the Food and Agriculture Organization, events are organized in over 150 countries across the world, making it one of the most celebrated days of the UN calendar. These events promote worldwide awareness and action for those who suffer from hunger and for the need to ensure food security for all. This year's theme is Our Actions Are Our Future, Healthy Diets for a Zero Hunger World.
World Food Day is a global call for zero hunger, for a world where nutritious food is available and affordable for everyone, everywhere. But today, more than 820 million people do not have enough to eat. And the climate emergency is an increasing threat to food security. Meanwhile, 2 billion men, women and children are overweight or obese. Unhealthy diets present an enormous risk of disease and death. It is unacceptable that hunger is on the rise at a time when the world wastes more than 1 billion tons of food every year. It is time to change how we produce and consume, including to reduce greenhouse emissions. Transforming food systems is crucial for delivering all the Sustainable Development Goals. That is why I hope to convene a Food Systems Summit in 2021 as part of the Decade of Action to deliver the Sustainable Development Goals. As a human family, a world free of hunger is our imperative.
Food, of course, is a huge and important part of life. Let's head now to Senegal to meet a foodie whose take on Senegalese food has won him droves of fans online for his unique dishes. Its culture, its history, its economics, and sometimes its politics wrapped up in a single bite. Let's take a look.
Dakar, the city of sun, sea, multicolored pirogues and painted buses. It's also the city of Iba's workshop, the kitchen of Senegalese food lover Ibrahima Doy, Iba for short, at his home in Han Mariste, a residential neighborhood in the capital city. Thanks to his tiny but colorfully designed home kitchen, Doy is breaking the mold, producing compelling videos and photos with plenty of information on ingredients and clear instructions on how and when to use them.
There is a common problem with African dishes. The quality of our online food videos is not good. The list of ingredients is usually incomplete. The recipe is not very precise. I have the opportunity to take up the challenge and show that even being in Senegal, in Africa, we can promote our cuisine.
This blogger chef tries to make the recipe simple and accessible to all and will sometimes change some of the ingredients. But essentially, he says he keeps the recipes as authentic as possible. Food blogging is a new concept in Senegal and less widespread than in Europe or the US, so there are fewer sponsors and bloggers have to fund everything themselves.
Donc les marques commencent à venir, ils veulent cette collaboration.
Yes, brands are starting to come. They want to collaborate, and we try little by little to do it. But it's not always easy because the online aspect is not very well known here.
Pas encore connu. Donc dans les autres pays, ça marche bien.
Iba's friends love coming to his house to share a meal. It is a custom to eat from one plate. One of his friends says Doy has been passionate about food since they were children. Doy says his food blog is helping him live his dreams.
Still ahead on the program. Egyptian archaeologists discover over 20 ancient coffins. That's in a moment. Stay with us.